Cleopatra, I understand that you have been recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some approaches to help you manage your new diagnosis and the best way to keep you healthy and maintain your blood glucose pretty steady, okay? All right, so carbohydrate counting is a meal planning approach for diabetics such as yourself where carbs are counted and you take into account serving sizes and how much you're eating in one meal to balance your meals and keep your blood sugar pretty even throughout the day without large spikes and then without experiencing hypoglycemia either. So to understand carb counting, we have to understand what carbohydrates are. And carbohydrates are present in starches, fruits, dairy products such as milk and yogurt, and non-starchy vegetables, desserts, and other combination items as well. So, not fats and proteins are not carbohydrates, so they do not need to be counted using this approach. The fats, you still have calories from that, but they don't have carbohydrates in them, so they're not raising your blood glucose just in terms of carbohydrates. So this approach of carb counting, as we call it, is really helpful with label reading, with maintaining blood glucose throughout the day, and with varying your diet and knowing how to do so. So it's really important to understand this to have your optimal health. So, an average serving of carbohydrates, at least for starches, is 15 grams a serving, and this has 80 calories. So this would be, for example, 1 slice of bread, 1/3 cup cooked pasta, 1 small baked potato, things of that nature. So that's 1 serving. So when you think about that, just 1 piece of bread, that's 1 serving, and that's 15 grams. And we want about, 3 servings of carbohydrates in 1 meal. So that's about 45 grams. So if you think about, the 1 piece of bread, that's 1 starch there. And if we eat things with more whole grains, like whole wheat bread, whole wheat pastas, whole wheat rices, this has fiber. And you still have the same amount of carbohydrates, but the fiber helps your blood glucose stay more steady and it absorbs more slowly. And there's other health benefits as well to fiber. So it's important that we try to incorporate whole wheat things as well. So it's something definitely to think about. The next group is dairy, so milk products. So milk is a little different than starches. It has 12 grams of carbohydrates per serving, so just a little bit less. And this is the same for all milk. What varies is the fat. So you do have different amount of calories depending on the fat content. So, lower fat is better for heart health, but they all have 12 grams. And same with yogurt and cheeses if you have 1 serving size. Next we have fruit. And fruit, again, has 15 grams per serving, and a serving is about 1 cup of fruit, and this has 60 calories. So also, about a tennis ball size fruit or 1 cup of chopped fruit. So a small apple, a small orange, those would be 15 as well. But you have to take into consideration, we go into the supermarket sometimes, and with GMO foods and everything like that, you can have some huge apples that are like this big, and that is not 1 serving. That can be 2 servings in 1 apple. So you do have to take into account how much you're eating and pay attention to it. Our next group is non-starchy vegetables, and these are very low in carbohydrates. These are like garden vegetables, when you think about garden vegetables, like lettuce, tomato, things of that nature. And these have 5 grams of carbs and only 25 calories for a serving. And this is 1/2 cup cooked or 1 cup of raw vegetables. And as I said before, fats and protein are not included in carbohydrate counting. So another reason that carbohydrate counting is important is for label reading. And for example, when we talk about, serving sizes on a label, if you look on a label, it tells you what 1 serving size is, and it'll tell you the carbohydrates in 1 serving. So if you're eating more than 1 serving, you can multiply the carbs per serving by the amount of servings, and that'll tell you how many carbs you're eating total. So that's also another really important concept to understand. So, it's important that we know how to plan these diets accordingly and monitor your blood sugar and don't let it completely spike out of control. So it can be easy to eat more than 1 serving because sometimes a serving isn't always accurate of, what a normal portion would be, and it might seem very small. For example, a 1/2 cup of oatmeal, of cooked oats, is 1 serving. That's 15 grams of carbohydrates right there. And it can be easy to eat more than that. So we do have to pay attention to that and keep in mind how much we're eating. And the same with, a cup of cooked pasta or rice can be very high with 22, 40 grams in 1 serving. And we don't think about that when we're eating. It doesn't seem like a big portion, but it is making your blood sugar skyrocket. So it is really important to understand this. The next concept we're going to talk about is the diabetes exchange list, and this is a good concept to know together with carb counting. And the exchange list, what it is a list of foods that you can sub in and out to help you vary your diet more and understand calories and carbs in a serving of a certain thing. So this is just like a quick way also to calculate your carbohydrate and or calorie intake without having to think too much into it. So it's just kind of an easy method, and here I have an example of it that I'm going to show my client so that she understands. I'll go through it with her and give her a copy of it at the end as well. And the diabetic exchange list has carbs, protein, fat, and calories for each group, for each food group. So our first food group is starches and breads, which is, what I started talking about with carb counting in the first place. And starches and breads are carbohydrates. So like I said before, for one serving, there's 15 grams of carbs, which is about an average serving of carbohydrate is 15 grams. It has 3 grams of protein, trace amounts of fat, and 80 calories. So as you can see, I know it's hard to see from there, but I'm showing my client that across the board, she can see the values for each, category, and it's just an easy way to just look down and be like, oh, okay, in one serving of starch, I'm getting 15 grams carbs and 80 calories. So next we have meats, and meats, like I said, do not have calories. And in this category, we have meat, we have very lean, medium fat, and high fat. So for this one, there's nothing listed under the carb column, but under protein, it tells you how many grams of protein are in each one of those, how many grams of fat are in each one of those, and how many calories are in each one of those. So that is helpful for understanding your calorie intake. For example, a lean meat has no carbs, like I said, 7 grams of protein in a serving, 0 to 1 grams of fat in a serving, and 35 calories for one serving. Our next category is vegetables. So this would be like the non-starchy vegetables I talked about before. And like I said before, it's 5 grams 5 grams carbs per serving. There's 2 grams of protein, no fat, and 25 calories. So this category, is very small amount of carbohydrate and small amount of calories. And we, with carb counting, it's easy to incorporate a lot of vegetables because of how low calorie it is. Like a full bowl of salad can be only 10 to 15, and that's like 2 cups of salad. So it's really easy. Fruit has a lot more carbs than vegetables, but when we think about leafy green vegetables and everything like that, a half cup of raw broccoli only has 5 grams of carbs. So it's just such an easy way to incorporate so many vegetables and not have to worry so much about spiking your blood glucose. That is one area that we really encourage our patients to try to increase intake in is vegetables. And fruit as well. We try to tell our diabetic patients to try to limit fruit juice, and a lot of people with diabetes try to have more fruit juice, and maybe they want to increase fruit intake or something along those lines, but with fruit juice you have so much sugar and no fiber, and you can only have about 4 ounces of fruit juice for one serving, where you could have a whole apple, a whole orange, and get all the nutrients, all the vitamins, minerals, and that fiber, which I talked about is really important for slowing absorption of carbs and helping your blood glucose level rise more slowly, which is a little healthier and it won't spike it so high. So for fruit, we have 15 grams of carbs in one serving, like I said, no protein, no fat, and 60 calories. So keep that in mind, and remember that if you do have fruit juice, you can only have 4 ounces, which isn't even a full cup, and that is your 15 grams. So the next category is milk. And I said this before, all milk for 8 ounces, which is 1 cup, is 12 grams of carbs. And what changes for the different types of milk is the fat content, not the carb content. So whether you have skim milk or whole milk, it's 12 carbs per 8 ounces, but the calories change and the fat content changes. So for example, skim milk, 12 grams carbs, 8 grams protein, 0 to 3 grams fat, 90 calories. Whereas the other end of the spectrum, whole milk, 12 grams again for carbs, 8 for protein, 8 for fat, and 150 for calories. So that is pretty high in calories, and we do want to encourage people to have low fat or no fat yogurt and milk because you're getting calcium and nutrients from those dairy sources without so much fat. And the last category is fat, which, like I said before, has no carbs. It is 5 grams of fat and is 45 calories. So I hope that this gave you a little insight into how to manage your diabetes and healthy ways to meal plan and incorporate carb counting for an easier diet.